How far off his best form do you reckon he is?
Well, look, I think there's a couple of things here. First of all, they'll be hurting after that Melbourne result. So if they have got some pride, they're going to show it tonight, and I think they have got some pride. Secondly, they've got some good players out there, regardless of their form. And thirdly, the transfer window has closed, which means players like Jade North and others will get more settled, get their knuckle down, I guess, and work on what's got to happen this season, which is a competitive defence of their title, and I think it starts tonight.
A lot of pressure on the man's centre screen there with the fluorescent green boots. Joel Griffiths is the marquee player, but the marquee contract has gone to Edmundo Zura, Ecuadorian international. We've barely seen fits and starts from him. Gary Van Egmond has put a lot of store in this guy, and they really need him to start firing.
He got flogged in the training paddock last week, Harps, and that's because they don't think his fitness is up to level. It's tapered off this week, and Gary Van Egmond's expecting a big game from him tonight. Not sure whether he's an out-and-out striker. That's the words of the Newcastle coach. He said, look, he can play in number 10, but unfortunately I've got so many other players who can play as number 10, so he's going to have to deliver, and hopefully for Newcastle fans that will start tonight as well.
Well, Zero, of course, impressed the first week he was here. Joel Griffiths was looking forward to linking up with him. The Newcastle Jets can certainly hope that particular combination fires tonight. They're going to have to, because Sydney FC, one win away of joining Melbourne at top of the table. Tony Popovic has just been a fabulous leader for every team in which he's played. He's a natural captain. The players will all rally to Popovic. He could be a pivotal man, even if he doesn't have much of the football tonight.
Well, Tony Popovic symbolises the mood inside that Sydney FC dressing room at the moment, which is very professional, very calm, very measured. It's all gone pretty well in the first 3 rounds of the season. This is a big test for them tonight. Obviously, they go into the game as favourites, but not by much. They're going to get a reaction from Newcastle. They'll have to work hard for the points.
All right, well, a share of the competition lead awaits Sydney. Restoration of reputations is on offer for the Jets. But Newcastle's history against Sydney is a tale of failure. And the boys in goal, defending their title in front of their home fans, will need to find something quick. Newcastle can add a fresh chapter to that chapter, or will Sydney's dominance continue? We're going to find out very soon as the players go through their final paces. 2 weeks ago in Telstra Dome, Newcastle lost everything. Tonight they can find something. Sydney have started very well. Can they continue tonight? We'll find out after this break.
This program brought to you by Hyundai Santa Fe, built family tough. Carlsberg, probably the best beer in the world. Hungry Jack's, the burgers are better at Hungry Jack's. Pepsi Max, maximum taste, no sugar. Mighty Helpful Mitre 10, finally someone's fixing hardware. And Ballantyne's Finest Scotch Whisky, official spirit of the Hyundai A-League.
They've stewed in their own juice for the past 2 weeks after being humiliated in Melbourne. Back on home soil, the Jets have a point to prove to the doubters and their own fans after a stuttering start to their title defence. We're live and exclusive here at Energy Australia Stadium. It's the champions against the championship contenders. Sydney FC have the form. Newcastle Jets are hoping to turn the form book upside down. Let's check the team news, starting with the home side, Newcastle Jets. In goals, Ante Kovic, just back from Socceroos duty in Tashkent. At right back, Tarek Elrich. The big news in the centre of defence, new signing Daniel Piakowski makes his debut just 2 days after signing a deal with the club. And Joe Wheelhouse Utility will play alongside him in the centre of that Jets defence. At left back, Matthew Thompson. The screening midfielders for the Jets, Adam Griffiths, and alongside him, James Holland. The 3 supporting midfielders led by the Korean Song Jin Hyung. Joel Griffiths playing as a number 10 tonight for Newcastle. And young Jason Hoffman on the left-hand side. The 3 midfielders who will support the lone striker, Ecuadorian international Edmundo Zura, still looking for his first goal for the club.
And for the visitors tonight, Sydney FC in goal, none other and who else? Clint Bolton. It's a back four. Shannon Cole playing right fullback, a move from the left side. In the centre, Ian Fife, who'll be joined. It's a return for the captain, Tony Popovich. And at left fullback, it's the Novocastrian, Robbie Middleby. The anchoring midfielder, Stu Michalek, another returning Novocastrian. Right midfield, Mark Bridge, another returning championship winner with the Jets. Terry McFlynn in the centre of midfield with the evergreen Steve Corica, and Alex Brosk will start out on the left. Up front, it's the Superman, the marquee man, John Aloisi. A 4-1-4-1 formation.
So we're close to kick-off here at the Energy Australia Stadium. Newcastle Jets looking to get their title defence back on track against Sydney FC. Mark Bridge scored the goal which won the Jets the title. Stu Michalek was there to lend a helping hand. Tonight they return to Newcastle in the colours of the opposing team, and the fans have promised a warm reception. We'll be back in just a moment. Well, the Hyundai A-League has certainly warmed up after that 2-week break. More summer than spring. 23 degrees the current temperature here in Newcastle. Humidity 57%. The wind from the northeast at a very light 13 kilometres an hour. So it's the champions against Sydney FC, the champions against their bogey team. They won just 2 times against Sydney FC. Both of those victories have come here on their home soil. Gary Van Egmond, I'm sure, keen to continue that record here tonight. The Jets bench, Jade North, the Socceroo, and the Jets skipper on the bench, Jesper Hawkinson, the Danish import, young Ben Kantarovski, and the reserve goalkeeper is Ben Kennedy. Well, for John Kosmina and Sydney FC, depth at his disposal, very impressive. Mitchell Prentice on the bench, Brendan Santalab back from injury, young Matt German, the 18-year-old defender from Sydney Olympic, the second keeper, Ivan Nasevsky. The referee tonight, as we said, at a very warm Energy Australia Stadium from New Zealand, Peter O'Leary. Crowd still building. Just a few seconds away from kick-off. Newcastle humbled, embarrassed, humiliated, call it what you will. The last time they played in the Hyundai A-League, that was 2 weeks ago against Melbourne Victory. They have a point to prove in a big way here tonight. Song Jin Hyung, one of 2 imports in the starting 11 for the Jets. The other, the Ecuadorian striker, Edmundo Zura. Sydney FC favourites away from home, and it's the visitors who'll get the ball rolling. Round 4 action, live and exclusive here on Fox Sports, the Hyundai A-League. Here's Bridge, his first touch of the ball, and not surprisingly, getting some boos from the crowd, and Tarek Elrich in there straight away as well. Robbie Middleby involved. They're fired up, Newcastle. Bridge on the receiving end. Some things go to script, Andy Harper.
Yeah, great to be here already. Where was the Hyundai A-League for an entire week? It didn't take long. Stu Michalek received the ball off the kickoff to a chorus of boos. He passed it to Mark Bridge, and it was on again. And Tarek Elrich, well, the interesting thing, the 3 of them were in conversation before the game outside the dressing rooms, all very amicable. That's been put aside, as you'd expect, 30 seconds into the game. This should be a good one. Newcastle with a lot to prove.
It's Popovich with the free kick. Jason Hoffman will play on the left-hand side of midfield for Newcastle. Song Jin Hyung at the moment on the right. Joel Griffiths supporting Edmundo Zura. The real story for the Jets is how their recast defensive lineup will handle this very attack-minded Sydney FC side. Well, launching their first attack as we speak. And it comes from Corica. And away by Elrich. Sydney FC 7 points out of 10 going into this match. The Jets just 2 points after 3 rounds. Popovic. Layoff from Brosk. Mishit pass from Robbie Middleby. Robbie Middleby making the point before the game that it's good to have Michalek and Bridge in the side because it takes the heat off any form and over Castrian.
That's a good point. Yeah, he used to be public enemy #1 when Sydney came to town. And of course their coach John Cosmina cut his senior coaching teeth in Newcastle with the old Breakers. So there's plenty of concurrent themes. John Aloisi with one good touch on the ball, and then Joe Wheelhouse with one good touch on Aloisi.
A new role for Joe Wheelhouse, who started out as a box-to-box midfielder. Right, playing as a central defender for the first time.
In fact, it was Piakowski, not Joe Wheelhouse, so my apologies early on.
It's Cole over the set piece for Sydney. Good height on the ball. It's come off a Newcastle head. James Holland. The first corner goes to the visiting team.
Well defended that from James Holland. Nice free kick from Shannon Cole. Used to those. Competition only 3 rounds and 3 minutes old for Sydney FC, but he's really caught the eye. Peter O'Leary.
The feeling is still there. There's a bit of argy-bargy inside that 6-yard box. Popovic, Adam Griffiths are fired up Newcastle, as you would expect them to be, as they should be. Cole goes back post. Not the best of headers. Appeals for handball by the Sydney players. Here's Zura. Lovely first touch from the Ecuadorian. Middleby goes tumbling. Elrich, quick release. Zura tried to play it through to Song Jin Hyun. That was superb recovery from Robbie Middleby. And now it's Sydney away with the ball. Sydney have won 5 of the last 6 games between these two sides. Although the stats tell us this is historically a low-scoring fixture, just 1.9 goals per match. John Cosmina brought his team up to Newcastle yesterday. Spent the night in a hotel. Here's Holland. Now Thompson. It's too far in front of him. Matt Thompson back in the position that he played throughout the first 3 seasons of the A-League as a left-back. We saw him as a attacking midfielder in the first few rounds of this season. Of course, Adam Deputso out with a controversial suspension tonight. So Matt Thompson will certainly feel right at home that left fullback role.
Well, there's been plenty of feeling in the opening exchanges from Newcastle. They expect nothing less. They've obviously had 2 weeks' worth of rockets inserted after the Melbourne debacle. This is probably the most innocuous of the challenges, but no doubt Joel Griffiths caught Stu Michalek, Peter O'Leary right on the spot, waited for the advantage. Good refereeing.
Fife and Popovic, most likely targets. That's a rare, poor delivery from Cole. Cleaned up by Kovic. Cole has it back. Good cross, hanging. Away by Piakowski. Not the best of touches from Thompson, though. Holland doesn't have a lot of support. Griffiths. Goes through the middle. Here's Zura. Edmundo Zura has got a yard on Popovic. That's encouraging from the Ecuadorian.
Well, it's instructive too, Mike, for 2 reasons. Firstly, the way Joel Griffiths dropped off the line into that number 10 position with a beautiful angle on his run. The pass then spoke for itself, but the second point of instruction here is the pace of Zura versus Popovic. Plenty of ground to plough there for Newcastle.
That face means business.
And it's about time.
Well, he doesn't speak the language at Mundo Zura, but he doesn't have to know what is expected of him. He's on big money here at Newcastle. He needs to score goals. Interestingly, the three imports on the Jets roster, Song Jin-hyung, Abedno Zura and Jesper Håkansson, have yet to get off the mark in the Hyundai A-League. Corica, dispossessed by Piakowski. Song draws the foul, but the referee decides there's nothing wrong with the challenge from Middleby. Adam Griffiths. Thompson. It's going to be a Sydney throw. Again, referee Peter O'Leary with some work to do. This time it's a yellow card for Matt Thompson. I think that was for dissent.
Yeah, well, the players, if they haven't learnt by now, they need to learn very quickly. The referee has a job to do. He's been instructed to do it. Players have no business questioning. As fired up as they may be, it's a lesson they've got to learn quickly.
First yellow card of the season for Matt Thompson.
He may also have seen that little trip, Peter O'Leary.
Here's Charlotte. And Bridge has gone down, clutching that right ankle. Challenge came from Tarek Elrich. And now maybe some treatment for Mark Bridge, who has been on the receiving end. Elrich maybe raking the boots down the Achilles of his former teammate.
Tarek Elrich was also down on his haunches, and it was some pretty close contact. But he's getting the high fives from his teammate, James Holland, just the back of the screen. He's made a point of going to encourage his teammate. Mark Bridge has obviously got a massive target on his back, and not just from the fans. Here's the incident. Very close contact, a handball there from Elrich, and plenty of shirt as well.
Accidental, completely accidental. Mark Bridge backing into Elrich.
You would have thought there was a free kick in that.
Well, I'm talking about the injury.
No, the injury was completely accidental.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. Well, he's had a wonderful rise, great development, Tarek Elrich. The youngster starting out here, Van Egmond, has brought him along. He's almost unrecognisable from the player who started in the Hyundai A-League.
Wheelhouse. Well, Daniel Piakowski had a lot of injury problems at Melbourne Victory. Maybe that's the reason he didn't really get a regular opportunity. But when he was fit, he certainly looked the part. And he's a decent pickup for Gary Van Egmond, as we see Robbie Middleby rescue a difficult situation.
Also should clarify, it's just an 8-week contract, a replacement for Sean Ontong, we're led to believe. So anything could happen from here, of course. That could get extended if another vacancy comes up. But it is a good pickup, I agree.
Corner Newcastle. Hasn't been employed as yet, Clint Bolton. Song's corner. Griffiths with a header, and it was a decent effort from Joel Griffiths, just clearing the frame of the goal.
A really good piece on that, Joel Griffiths. Way too much freedom from Sydney's viewpoint. Corner swung in from Song. He leapt well, did Joel Griffiths. Far too good for Tony Popovic. It was Alex Brosk who couldn't stop the run initially. It was a good chance early on. A very bright start for Newcastle. It's a case for Sydney of weathering the storm at this point. Hope that Newcastle blow themselves out of steam.
moment, Aloisi not getting a lot of change out of the referee. And even less out of Daniel Piakowski. Here's Brosk. Well, Hoffman went over the ball there. I'm not sure how much contact there was, but some intent. Wheelhouse. Adam Griffiths playing in the role that he wants to play in, holding midfield position. Poor pass from Elrich. Haven't got their passing game going as yet, Sydney FC. Holland gets away from McFlynn. His Song. Mark Bridge right back on the edge of his own area. Playing a high line at the moment, Newcastle. Pressure on the Sydney FC defenders as soon as they get the ball. But that might leave them exposed at the other end. Brosk is away, Aloisi in the middle. Bridge goes back post, Aloisi! Somehow blocked by Elrich. Now Kovac a long way out from goal. Here's Bridge. Desperate defending from Elrich. Now Fife. A real let-off that for Newcastle Jets. Cole. Elrich drives it towards the corner. Well, he's quick, Joel Griffiths, but not that quick. Popovic with the back pass. Bolton miscues his clearance. Zero with the overhead. Almost a comedy of errors from Sydney FC, and they escape.
Well, a comedic way to squander a great chance. Going for the spectacular. It became a haymaker, and Sydney let off the hook.
Chances at both ends.
Clint Bolton just miscuing, a little bobble when he went to take his final swing.
Might be worth pointing out at this stage that the pitch here is fairly ordinary, and that's been kind. 2 weeks since the last game was played here in the NRL by the Newcastle Knights, and the Jets are having real issues with the stadium at the moment. The way they're preparing the pitch, there's a lot of line markings, no excuse whatsoever for that. Maybe even a lack of respect from the ground staff for the Jets. And certainly the club unimpressed with the surface they've been given here tonight. With good reason.
Well, they just haven't prepared the ground for a national competition. It looks pockmarked. It's wrong. You know, they can turn grounds around overnight for multi-hirers, but 2 weeks isn't enough. And I'd be wanting to know why if I was a Newcastle Jets administrator as well. Maybe more to it than meets the eye, but what meets the eye is pretty unpleasant.
Well, we do know that the FFA was up during the week talking to the ground staff and the Newcastle Jets about the playing surface, but it's made no difference, sadly. Bolton will be mindful of that surface with these back passes. Takes a touch and the extra insurance. Here's Fife, looks up.
Well, Newcastle just not letting Sydney settle on the ball, and Van Egmond will be very heartened by that. Of course, they were well in the game this time last round against Melbourne before the floodgates opened. So he'll be making sure that this effort is maintained. Sydney not allowed to settle. They've had a great chance to Aloisi. Really working that right-hand channel offensively are Newcastle, and it's come up well for them so far.
Charlotte, lovely switch of play. Corica. Well, Joel Griffiths playing his team into trouble. Corica's onside. Danger here for Newcastle. Clipped cross from Steve Corica, too close to Kovic.
Nice play from Terry McFlynn. He's not one of the more heralded players in this team, but he's so reliable, and he set that attack up really nicely for Corica.
Well, he's been given a freer role by John Kosmina tonight. Terry McFlynn, with the return of Stu Michalek. Courage to get forward at every opportunity. Had 63% of the ball, the visitors, over the last 5 minutes of the game. They have created one opportunity, denied by some desperate defensive work from Tarek Elrich. John Aloisi looking for his first Sydney FC goal. Thompson runs into Cole. Griffiths. Well, the shot was there to be taken. 2 goals this season from Joel Griffiths. Ball goes long, looking for Aloisi. Too long for the Sydney striker. Hasn't started a game, John Aloisi, since the grand final. Tony Popovich hasn't started a game since the semi-final against Queensland Raw. So both of those players, despite all the work they've done on the training track, will be feeling the pace eventually. John Kosmina suggesting before the match that both of them will probably only last about 60 minutes. Bridges away in the meantime. Skips away from Elrich, but he's isolated. And Joel Griffiths just diving through on Charlotte and protests, but we advised to cut those protests short.
He won the ball. The referee probably determined that he just, in his opinion, used undue force. But you can understand the frustration. That's just commitment from Joel Griffiths, and he did get to the ball first. It just so happened that it was Stu Michalek in the way.
Another free kick for Sydney. Delivery this time from Cole, and Popovich had snuck in behind Adam Griffiths, who got the crucial final touch.
Well, he was lurking, was Tony Popovich, and the advantage for Sydney as they make their runs. Griffiths with the armband in place of Jade North. The Sydney players can make their runs as per the training paddock because Shannon Cole's delivery is so spot on the money, and it's a real advantage.
It's going to be the outswinger. Cole looking for Aloisi's head. Happened to be cleared by Newcastle, and in the end it was Joel Griffiths back helping out. He's not impressed with, I think it was Piakowski, or was it Wheelhouse? They didn't do a very good job there, Newcastle, of clearing the danger.
Variation to the back post. It was Piakowski who was caught unaware. Joel Griffiths having to clean up, and Sydney didn't react in truth as well. That was a good half chance if someone was alert to the fact.
Variation from Cole, and getting plenty behind it was Ian Fife.
That's been a feature. His last corner was a floater to the back post. His second corner is driven to the edge of the penalty area, which Ian Fife had read. Unfortunately, it came off his shin. Great variation. Good adjustment from Fife. Ultimately, just didn't quite have the time to get his foot round the ball. But it keeps Newcastle's defenders guessing from every set piece.
A Sydney throw. The crowd has certainly built up since the kick-off here at Energy Australia Stadium. Newcastle, one of only 2 clubs alongside Perth Glory who have exceeded their average from last season in terms of attendances. They got 16,500 in their opening game against the Mariners. I'm not sure whether tonight's crowd will hit that mark, but another good turnout for the champions. We're looking to reward the fans with a win. Brosk. Cole has time. Takes the space instead. Delightful ball from Shannon Cole. Wheelhouse, good defensive work. Some momentum building for Sydney FC. Song. He's wasted it. They just can't keep the ball at the moment, Newcastle. Backheel from Bridge. Overlap from Middlebeat. Needs a good ball. Looking for Brosk, who gets contact, but not enough power. Well, this sustained pressure from the away team has brought their fans into the equation. Good contingent of travelling Sydney FC fans come up the F3. Hoffman. He's handed out a few home truths, hasn't he, Gary Van Egmond, over the last couple of weeks. Not too fussed about reputations either. A lot of the senior players in particular were reminded of their obligations by the Jets coach, particularly those who've been unsettled by either transfer or contract negotiations. It's a fact of life. If you're a professional footballer, those things will occur. It's how you react which really counts, and that's been the point from Gary Van Egmond. Song, now Elridge. Ordinary cross from Tarek Elridge. A quizzical look from Alex Brosk. Very warm still here in Newcastle. The temperature in the low 20s. Quite stuffy after some pretty cool weather in the first 3 rounds of the season. Things have heated up in every respect. Song. Good shape on the ball, and Bolton had to scramble.
It's Jim Michalek who's picked himself up, dusting himself off. You can see him in that clash with Adam Griffiths, coming off second best. Hasn't been able to slip into the rhythm of the game. Joel Griffiths has made short of that. Tactic from Van Egmond.
Not in the groove as yet, Steve Corica. It's a credit to the Jets for the way they've played him. Wheelhouse gets away with a poor touch, and then compounds the error. Bridge out muscled by Adam Griffiths. Song is away. Now they have numbers, Newcastle. One of them is Griffiths. He continues his run. Joel Griffiths down that right channel, gets to the byline. Didn't cut it back enough for Edmundo Zura.
He was also entitled to have Zura hitting that first post, though. You're right, Mike. The ball needed a bit more angle on it. Joel Griffiths was herring to try and round the ball up. Just getting away from him, but he is entitled to have a striker hit that first post. Zura was the man. And the key to that attack, just way too soft. Mark Bridge in possession. Adam Griffiths dispossessed him way too easily.
Ante Kovic, just back from Tashkent. 30 hours in the air. To fly from Tashkent back to London to make his way back to Australia. Business class, though. Didn't get on the park, of course, in that very, very good win by the Australian team over Uzbekistan. Another player involved in contract talks with the club here at Newcastle. Corica. That's a corner, Sydney.
The one thing Newcastle have been a bit shabby in, and that's tracking runners from throw-ins, short set pieces, etc. Again, Steve Corica breaks the line far too easily for a team that's defending their title. They line up for their fourth corner now. All of them have been high-quality deliveries from Shannon Cole. Can't give Sydney too many more chances from these types of set pieces when the delivery's this good.
And it is a good delivery from Shannon Cole. Decent fist from Kovic. Not cleared by Zura. Cole has it back with time. Left foot delivery, near post. Thompson, good recovery.
He's had a great start, Shannon Cole. Beautiful cross. Left foot, right foot, it doesn't matter. It's always pinpoint.
Popovic. Here's Bridge. Not hard to tell whenever Mark Bridge gets the ball. The man who won the grand final for the Newcastle Jets hasn't been forgiven for his move down across the Hawkesbury to Sydney FC. You get the feeling that because he's a Novocastrian, Stewie Michalek not quite getting the same level of treatment. Might have a few more mates in the crowd.
You can't do much more than score the winning goal in your team's and your city's first ever national title. They forget quickly the Novocastrians, great people though. Love their own, great supporters of their team.
Half an hour gone here at the Energy Australia Stadium. No goals in a very competitive encounter between the Jets and Sydney FC. There's been a couple of chances, though, at either end. Maybe the best falling to John Aloisi.
I just wonder if John Cosmina at some point in this first half doesn't consider swapping Bridge and Brosk. Brosk said in your newspaper this morning, Michael, that he quite enjoys playing either right or left. He started left, he could go right. That would get Bridge away from the hot spot in front of the squadron.
Decent volley from McFlynn. Entitled to shoot.
Again, Newcastle got numbers, just not clearing with any real conviction.
Turned out to be a decent ball by Taragorich, and Zura just unable to get the ball in play. Edmundo Zura has played for his national team, Ecuador. use of the body from Matt Thompson, who continues his run. Superb play here by Thompson, but then the options just run out. Here's Elrich. Song to his right. Now Hoffman needs to get more involved, Jason Hoffman. Thompson. Well, they've funneled back now, Sydney. They have numbers behind the ball, but the Jets still have possession, which is a good sign. Hoffman.
He needs way more. He needs to offer way more, Jason Hoffman, at home in front of his own crowd. He's really not offered anything with the ball at his feet. He's in good positions as well. Promising young player. But you've got to find those feet very quickly.
Zura. Adam Griffiths draws the foul. Well, he seems very right-footed, Jason Hoffman. Doesn't look balanced on this left-hand side. Maybe that's part of the problem. Wheelhouse with the free kick, floats it, looking for Joel Griffiths. It's almost found its way through to Zura, but there was a nudge.
Yeah, foul on Adam Griffiths. Zura was through too, but Adam was adjudged to have interfered illegally with the defenders. That's the point there. Just an arm across Tony Popovic's shoulder as he leapt for the ball, the Sydney skipper. Well picked up by Peter O'Leary. Another convincing performance from the referee.
He's enjoying it at the moment, Peter O'Leary. It's being played in a competitive spirit, but no malice whatsoever. Here's Adam Griffiths. Now Zura has come off the front line. Looking to play it through to Holland. Charlotte protesting about his treatment. That's a poor ball from Adam Griffiths. Peter O'Leary will have a word, I think, to Joel Griffiths now. Again, as a dissent is an issue, and
well, it's for repeated. It's for the nature of the repeated attention he's giving Stu Michalek. It's obviously his brief tonight. No surprise in that card being played. There's the catching of Michalek. Big test for this. Stu Michalek blew a head gasket against Central Coast. He's under more pressure tonight. He's getting plenty of needle from Joel Griffiths. So far, he's done well. Not for the first time, James Holland's range way off.
Well, the passing game is what has made Newcastle Jets so successful in the first 3 seasons of the Hyundai A-League. They haven't found their groove this season in that very important area of the game. Zura just hesitated. Middleby didn't. Now McFlynn. Good ball from McFlynn, hanging, looking for Aloisi. And again, it's Joel Griffiths back deep in his own half, rolling up his sleeves, doing the defensive work. Certainly up for this game, Joel Griffiths. Gets away from Yushalik. Opens up the room for Song Jin-hyung. Zura's in the middle. Goes near post. Back post is Joel Griffiths. Bolton hesitates. The header was on target, but that's good use of the body and plenty of experience as well from Tony Popovich, who just stood his ground.
Yeah, very effective side screen. Nicely read, Popovich. Good awareness. He saw Joel Griffiths peeling to the back post, and without challenging for the ball, he blocked the run. All those wonderful years of experience coming to the fore there, Tony Popovich.
Well, that's not a popular decision from Peter O'Leary.
Can't see why not. Terry McFlynn was code-hanged.
The Northern Irishman, Terry McFlynn, still hoping for his first call-up for his national team. Not a popular decision, but certainly the correct one. Cole plays it short. Here's Corica. Holland. Zura. Gets past the first challenge from Yushalik. Song is running into the traffic. Song. He's played it inside. Elrich had pushed forward.
A good run from Tarek Elrich. Nice work from Song. And Newcastle just need to get a bit more change out of their money man. Joel Griffiths has been effervescent in the first 40 minutes. Song's been quiet, and they need him to fire up. And this was probably his best prompting so far. Good run, Tarek Elrich. Great coverage, Terry McFlynn.
It's not 5 minutes remaining in the first half. Song's corner hangs. So too does Clint Bolton. Clean take, good release. Corica in space. Fife continues the run, but in the end gets the angles wrong. But one positive so far for Newcastle has to be the way they've handled John Aloisi to this point of the game.
Well, I think that's true. Piakowski and Wheelhouse are a new partnership, untested at any level, so they have done well. But more to the point, Sydney have failed to utilise Aloisi. And that fact has been accentuated by Joel Griffiths' job on Stu Michalek. Hasn't been able to dictate the flow of possession. Obviously, Gary Van Egmond knows how valuable Michalek is in that facet of the game. So Joel Griffiths' job, apart from igniting his own team's attack, has been to make sure that Sydney's attack doesn't start with Michalek. From that point on, it's been a bit part sort of approach going forward from Sydney.
Lovely play from Zura. Thompson. And that was a poor final ball from Matt Thompson, a move which promised much for Newcastle. They've come back into it though in the last 5 minutes or so, the home team. Sloppy ball from Wheelhouse. Good work from Ross, but Wheelhouse recovers.
I just wonder if John Kosmina perhaps doesn't tinker with his midfield at half-time. At the moment, he's got this 4-1, which is half-worked, but it doesn't allow Michalek to get into the game because Joel Griffiths can take him out in a virtual man-marking situation. Drop Terry McFlynn perhaps into that dual screening role, then Joel Griffiths has two players to pick up.
Advantage played by Peter O'Leary, but he's got the number of James Holland. Song's away in the meantime. Again in space on that right side. Here's Hoffman. Sets it up for Tarek Elrich, sets a shot on target, spilled by Bolton, almost at the feet of Joel Griffiths. It was a regulation save, really.
Well, he's been outstanding so far this season, Clint Bolton. This was one of those moments where he looked a little bit nervous. His hand's not quite soft enough. His left elbow is heavily strapped.
He's also talked a lot about a neck problem this season, Clint Bolton. Popovic. Aloisi. And the mix-up there between McFlynn and Brosk, but Newcastle fall on their own sword. Downward header from Brosk. It's about 90 seconds remaining in the first half of football here. We believe there's not going to be any injury time for Peter O'Leary. Ball's been in play for virtually the entire first half. A lot of stoppages.
Well, this is so often the way. Mark Ridge is going to cop a yellow card. Now, he'll feel aggrieved by that after some of the treatment he's received.
Mark Bridges' first yellow card of the season. Maybe the last chance of the half for the Jets to open the scoring. Elrich's ball is an average one. His crossing hasn't been up to the mark tonight, Tarek Elrich. Here's Charlotte. Picks out Aloisi. Good play from John Aloisi. Now Corica, Middleby to his left. Look at the watch from Peter O'Leary. Now just over the 45-minute mark. Cole gets to the byline. Down he goes.
Good work, Shannon Cole. I reckon this is the best half he's put together. He hasn't scored yet. He hasn't rattled the crossbar with a free kick. His set piece has been good, and his general play, well, reflecting a player who's picked up every lesson that's been offered to him. It's been a very impressive first half.
Well, interesting point here. Gary Van Egmond's asking the question to the fourth official. If there's no injury time, why are we 41 seconds, 42 seconds over the mark and defending a corner? This could be a talking point. Cole. And the near post header from Alex Brosk was always a difficult ask.
Well, that's 5 or 6 corners for Sydney and 5 or 6 variations. Great stuff.
Well, no goals in the first half here at Energy Australia Stadium, but plenty of action, a couple of half chances, perhaps the best of them falling to John Aloisi. Edmundo Zura has looked the best he's been all season for the Newcastle Jets. Stewie Mushalak returning to his old club has been composed for Sydney FC. At halftime here in Newcastle, it's the Jets 0, Sydney FC 0.
It's half-time. Time to grab a Hungry Jack's Whopper. The burgers are better at Hungry Jack's.
Welcome back to Energy Australia Stadium for the Jets. It's been a hard slog, long periods without possession, but they did finish strongly. Sydney FC, for their part, well, they were good early. John Aloisi might have scored, but the visitors now know they have a tough second half in front of them. No goals at half-time here in Newcastle. Let's have a look at the stats from the first half of football. 44% possession for the home team, 56% for the visitors, 45% of the time in the opposition half for Newcastle, 55% again, Sydney dominating territory. 5 corners to 2 for the visitors. No offsides in the game so far, just 13 fouls in the game, and it's a yellow card apiece. Well, no goals in the first half, but there was some activity in front of both goals. The early chance falling to the Ecuadorian Edmundo Zura.
Well, this is the best moment Zura's offered since he's come to Australia. Joel Griffiths instrumental. How many times have we said that in the Hyundai A-League of recent times? Dropped off that line, beautiful. Nice angle on his run to pick up the ball. The pass spoke for itself. Good pace from Zura and a good instinct for goal as well, just shooting wide. Tony Popovic just caught in his wake, but you'd reckon that Clint Bolton had the angles for that one covered.
Well, 5 minutes later, despite having long periods without the ball, they did fashion another chance, Newcastle. This one falling to Joel Griffiths.
Sydney FC defended this really poorly. They had all the numbers. Popovic was the man to challenge Joel Griffiths, and it was Alex Brosk who should have been blocking the run of Joel Griffiths. Neither really were up to the task, and it was a good piece on the ball from Griffiths, but to no avail.
At the other end, 2 minutes later, John Aloisi might have scored, maybe should have scored his first goal for his new club.
Chance of the match. Great setup from Alex Brosk. Nice cutback. Tarek Elsh with the first body, and quizzically Mark Bridge seemed to take an hour to respond to the crumbs. I'm not sure if he was waiting for Aloisi to respond, didn't want to get in his way, but that was certainly the one for Mark Bridge to pounce.
Well, they weathered the early storm, Newcastle, and they did finish the half in reasonable condition. Joel Griffiths, 38 minutes gone. Again, the man most likely for Newcastle.
Well, here's that position again that Joel Griffiths playing in the number 10. Too much pace, too much good direction out of midfield, and feeding Song, who on balance has been quiet for Newcastle. And with Joel Griffiths peeling off to the back stick, that was expert defending from Tony Popovic, the Sydney FC skipper. Did very well, needed to as well, because he was lurking with intent, was Joel Griffiths.
And the last in a series of half chances really for Newcastle, very close to half-time, a long-distance effort from Tarek Elrich.
Interesting to see that Song is so prominent in the few moments that Newcastle did have that threatened Sydney's goal. They really need more from the Korean in the second half. Jason Hoffman, who has been, well, not so much sloppy, but not involved and not capitalising enough. Elrich with the shot, and Clint Bolton, one of those moments where he just moved a bit slowly to cover the line of the ball, and it was a half chance for Joel Griffiths. Came to nothing.
So a let-off there for Clint Bolton. Ulrich with the shot. No goals in the first half. These are the attack stats from the opening 45 minutes of play. That's 5 shots apiece. 2 shots on target from Newcastle, just the 1 from Sydney FC. 13 balls into the box from Newcastle, 17 from Sydney FC. Maybe the most interesting stat, 10 balls from the right from Sydney FC. Shannon Cole again prominent down the channel for the visiting team. 2 saves made by Clint Bolton, just the 1 from Ante Kovic. Well, of course, round 4 in the Hyundai A-League continues tomorrow here on Fox Sports across the ditch at the Westpac Stadium in Wellington. Wellington Phoenix are looking to recover from a poor start to the season. They host the Central Coast Mariners. The coverage starts tomorrow from 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 2. And it's back-to-back action where you go across to the other side of the country to the west. Perth Glory hosting Queensland Roar, coverage from 5 p.m. Eastern, again on Fox Sports 2. And as always, you can catch all the highlights from the round of football on our regular Hyundai A-League highlight show. Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. And we review the weekend at the club. Fox Sports FC join Andy Harper and Robbie Slater for the most comprehensive football wrap going around. That's, of course, Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Not all about Australian football, of course, here on Fox Sports. We also continue our comprehensive coverage of the English Premier League right after this from 9 p.m. Eastern. That's from 9 p.m. Eastern. Join a very bleary-eyed Simon Hill and Robbie Slater. And what a big game we've got in store. Liverpool against Man U. The debut of Dimitar Berbatov for Man U. The other games tonight include Arsenal against Blackburn. So straight after this game, you can join Simon and Robbie for our coverage of the English Premier League. Well, no goals here at half-time in Newcastle. Can Sydney FC continue their winning run? We'll find out in just a moment. Well, the goals have dried up as the weather has heated up, but it's been a tight, tense, tough affair under a full moon here at Energy Australia Stadium. Plenty of commitment, plenty of it never so far, but what's been missing has been the finishing touch. No goals between Sydney FC and the Newcastle Jets. I'm sure the visitors pretty happy, though, with their performance in that first half of football. One player who has been observing proceedings is the injured Sydney FC defender, Jacob Timpano. He's with Mel McLaughlin.
Thanks a lot. Jacob, no goals yet, but you guys are playing a pretty disciplined game so far.
Yeah, I mean, we're away from home, and I'm sure the boys are quite happy to be in the break at nil all, but hopefully we can go in the second half and grab a goal and join Melbourne on top of the league.
They're keeping John Aloisi a little bit quiet.
Yeah, Johnny's first game back, so he's still got to find his feet a little bit, but I think he's had the best chance of the game, and if he gets a little bit of room in the box, I think we'll see him finishing a few off.
And what do you think of the Sydney FC backline from what you've seen?
Yeah, very good. It's Popper's first game as well. He's had a tough pre-season, but he's back now, and with him back there, he's leading very well.
All right, just finally, some more bad injury news for you. You're off for a couple of more weeks. How are you travelling since surgery?
Yeah, not too bad. Had surgery last week, and I'm hoping to be back within a month and getting back out there and helping the boys win the comp this year.
You fancy your chances of cementing your spot again?
I hope so.
Thanks a lot, Jacob.
Thank you.
All right, Jacob Timpano, a very promising young defender, Andy Harper, but hasn't he had a bad run?
Well, the good thing about this current injury, if such a thing can be said, is that it's not a soft tissue injury. It's a bone spur which has been filed off, sawn off, whatever they do with bone spurs, chopped off. It's a huge relief that he's got through those first few games without more soft tissue trouble, because he's had a wretched run. He's a wonderful talent, as we just saw there. He's a very composed individual. He's a high-quality character. And he can be a real trump for Sydney FC, and I look forward to having him back. So I'm very happy that it's not a major injury. Van Egmond with it all to do at half-time to try and keep his team up-tempo. They had a very effective first half. They obviously stopped Sydney from scoring, which was the key option for them, and they stopped Bridge and Michalik settling into the game. What we didn't say during the first half, Mike, this is the first game of the new season where the players have had to deal with a little bit of heat, and interesting to see how the second 45 unfolds on that front.
How do they get more out of that man, Edmundo Zura? The service?
Yeah, the timing of his runs is what's off at the moment. The first good chance he had, which we saw at half-time in the 7th minute, came because obviously Joel Griffiths did good work, but he timed his run nicely, and he's just a little bit out of sync, but he's had good intent with his action. His body language has been very positive. He's looked willing to work. It's just the timing of his run, and that'll come the more he settles and the more he gets to read the non-verbal cues with his teammates. And of course, when he's not au fait with the native tongue here in Newcastle, it's going to be verbal cues, non-verbal cues that he's going to have to work off.
So Edmundo Zura still searching for his first goal in the Hyundai A-League. John Aloisi still searching for his first goal of this season. It's his first starting appearance of the campaign. He'll be hoping to make a difference in the second half here at Energy Australia Stadium. Joel Griffiths. Zura. Song. Clipped on the way pass, and he was hurt in that challenge. Song Jin Hyun. Hear the contact from up here.
Well, he beat Robbie Middleby, and Robbie Middleby, having been beaten, wasn't going to let the error be compounded, and he just caught him on that ankle. A little bit ginger is Song Jin Hyun.
Free kick Newcastle to be taken by Elrich. That's a poor delivery again. Unfortunately, he's not having a good game in that respect. Tarek Elrich, his crossing, the set-piece work hasn't been up to scratch. Some days you hit the sweet spot, and other days it just doesn't work out. Piakowski back to Kovic. A mistake from Newcastle. Offside, coming back from an offside position was Alex Brosk. On that far side, the assistant referee Sarah Ho, only female match official in the Hyundai A-League.
I reckon it's great. She's done a really good job running the line. And maybe not long before we see a woman in the centre with the whistle. That'll be a good thing too.
Might make the players behave a bit better. Wheelhouse. Good header from Holland. Nice touch from Song Jin-hyun. Middleby's quick enough to recover. Sets it up for Holland. Tries to bend it, and it's come off the crossbar. Bolton all at sea there, completely deceived by the flight of the cross. It wasn't a shot.
He's off his game tonight, Clint Bolton. He had that dodgy save in the first half, which came to nothing off Tarek Elridge. But his wires crossed with Rob Middleby with a back pass a couple of minutes earlier. And that was a none too convincing attack at the ball. Shannon Cole there to clean up.
Song's corner. Bolton hesitates.
I think that was Tony Popovich.
Adam Griffiths challenging for the ball, but it's come off a Sydney FC player.
I think it was Popovich, stand corrected, but it was a great header. Maybe it was McFlynn. Good bodies in there. Indeed, it was Popovich with the challenge. Needed to be strong. He's good in the air, Adam Griffiths.
Second successive quarter for the Jets. Continuing where they left off in that first half. And it's almost crept in, that near post. Brosk it was who was marking the post.
Oh, Shannon Cole has
Well,
got
it's Middleby, actually.
Shannon Cole's got the barrage from his teammates for letting that header get in on goal.
Another in-swinger from Song Jin-hyun. Another corner for Newcastle.
Of course, it wasn't a header that Shannon Cole was berated for. It was the direct corner that Alex Brosk had to clear. Good pressure from Newcastle.
Whipped in, and this time a clean take from Clint Bolton. And another good release. Bridge and acres of space. Corica just checked the run. Superb ball from Bridge to pick out Steve Corica. First time ball inside. The volley from John Aloisi. It's a rusty effort.
Well, it had spectacular written all over it. Mark Bridge, just beautiful work. With credit Clint Bolton, he's had a dodgy couple of minutes, but it was a strong take and a good quick release. Mark Bridge then set the attack up. Corica returned service on behalf of his team, and John Aloisi just needed to get the set square a bit more adjusted there.
Strong header, Popovich. Here's Zura. Lovely work from Corica. McFlynn has caught Wheelhouse, the trailing boot. Yeah, it's asking the question of the referee. Look at the room here for Joel Griffiths. Oh, that's a disappointing pass from Joel Griffiths, but for mine, he gets 10 out of 10 for his tactical discipline tonight. He's played that role. It's a difficult role with and without the ball, and he has certainly listened to his coach and delivered.
He has, no doubt. Perhaps just telegraphed that option a little bit. Robbie Middleby read it well.
Not just about the glory, Joel Griffiths. Like a real team game here tonight in Newcastle. Fife seemed to be all over the back of his opponent, Edmundo Zura. He was letting this game go, Peter O'Leary. And Flo. Good ball in. Griffiths with a challenge. Couldn't direct the header. Oh, look at that commitment from Matty Thompson.
Hold.
Unconvincing pass from Joe Wheelhouse. Popovich. Newcastle have backed off the Sydney FC captain. Here's Hoffman. Well, there was a time midway through that first half when I was questioning the fitness levels of Newcastle. I think it was a time when they didn't have a lot of the ball, but they seem to have recovered pretty well. Got a sharpness back about them.
Edmundo Zura looking to get the Vespa going there at left wing. Nearly dislocated his hip in the process, but he's won the free kick.
As Newcastle fans trying to lift the confidence of Edmundo Zura.
You get dizzy trying to follow that right foot.
Starting the whippersnipper, wasn't he?
Well, that sort of whippersnipper you use, Mike.
Song Jin Hyung, free kick. Half a dozen Newcastle bodies in that penalty area. One of them is Piakowski. Griffiths. That was a rehearsed move which didn't quite go to plan. Corica. Hoffman comes inside Shannon Cole. Here's Holland. Joel Griffiths. Song gets away from Middleby, squares it up looking for Zura. Now Elrich. Zura. Lovely skill from Zura. Holland shot, side netting. He's come alive, the Ecuadorian.
That's beautiful invention from Edmundo Zura. A good strike from James Holland in the end. That's pure instinct. To know that the space was available and the support play was there to put that on that space, that's beautiful play. And tactically, you'd have to think that Newcastle have got this one if they want it. Sydney, not convincing. Cosmina either needs to readjust his midfield or to get some support for John Aloisi. Alex Brosk and Mark Bridge totally out of the game. Too much firepower not being utilised from Sydney FC. And tactically, you have to give it to Newcastle at this juncture.
Well, Gary Van Egmond making the point before the season that the coach he most enjoys competing against is John Cosmina. Said he makes you think at all times in every game. Maybe John Cosmina does have something up his sleeve. 68% of the ball in the last 5 minutes. That tells the story of the way this game is unfolding at this moment. Still looking for the first goal though, Newcastle. A goal which I'm sure will do wonders for their confidence if they can get it.
Well, there's 2 points about Sydney's play. Michalek can't run the show because Joel Griffiths is taking him out of the game. So Cosmina either needs to get McFlynn next to Stu Michalek so that Joel Griffiths has to double up and make a decision which one to go to, or he needs to push someone alongside John Aloisi to take one of the central defenders out of the game. But at the moment, it's all going to plan for Newcastle. It's going to be something on the break that does it for Sydney otherwise.
Here's Bridge. Works the space, the cutback. Oh, gee, that needed a good first touch from Wheelhouse, and it was. McFlynn was lining up the shot. This game is opening up now. Hoffman. Look at Joel Griffiths, full of running. Looking for Zura! There was inches in that one.
Well, they've got a head of steam, Newcastle. This confidence that evaporated at the Telstra Dome in round 3 has been rediscovered in the second half here at home for the Jets.
Thompson. Another corner for Newcastle. They're turning the screws, the Jets. They have dominated this second half.
Good ball from Joel Griffiths.
Well, maybe
Well
a few
read.
more inches in it, but
Very well read, Clint Bolton. These last two offerings for Sydney FC have been much more convincing. Look at that left elbow.
Song's corner. Not sure how much Tony Popovich knew about it, but he did again put his body in there when he needed to. Corica. Chance for Sydney FC to get a breather. Won a corner.
Not a bad debut from Daniel Piakowski. He's very comfortable in that back line. Sydney yet to really trouble Ante Kovic, who's just off a 30-something hour flight out of Europe. Hasn't really been tested, the Newcastle custodian.
This might be the opportunity. Cole's corner. Swung in. That's come off the head of Fife. And it was Aloisi looking to force it home at the far post.
They've used Ian Fife really well off these corners. We saw him shoot from an angled ball off a corner in the first half, and this time he's made the run to the edge of the 6-yard box, and not for the first time. Shannon Cole has dropped the ball right on a penny. Near post header from Fife. Application good. His distribution this evening left a bit to be desired. John Aloisi on the back stick. Just couldn't quite get on the end of it.
Well, 60 minutes gone and still no sign of Gary Van Egmond warming up his substitutes, who include the Danish import Jesper Hawkinson.
Well, I'd be happy if I were Gary Van Egmond at the moment too.
Griffiths lines up the shot, and that moved in the air.
And again, that was very well done, Clint Bolton. There's a couple of nervous moments, but that was beautiful goalkeeping. Made it look much easier than it was.
Cole's turned it over. Zura is away. Almost a dangerous ball from Piakowski. He was rescued there by the toenail of James Holland. Zura getting plenty of ball, but he looks tired. He might have just hit empty. Edmundo Zura.
Zura's just waved the white flag to the bench. He's had enough. 60 minutes is all he can give. It's been better tonight. This will certainly help Sydney.
Well, Daniel Piakowski's played a 1-2 with the referee and turned it over. Holland trying to squeeze his way through. Here's Hoffman, shown the line by Cole.
Well, that was better from Jason Hoffman, because you can see the energy that he's put into attacking his opponent. He didn't do it in the first half by receiving the ball in similar positions, and perhaps Van Egmond had a word to say. Shannon Cole retreating and in the end giving away the corner, but that's much better from Jason Hoffman. Needs more for his team of the same.
Swinging in the air, Bolton at full stretch. Well, Adam Griffiths is the target for Newcastle from these corners. Song Jin Hyung. Holland's deep cross. Middleby shepherding Griffiths away from the flight of the ball. Here's Bridge. Well, that's good work from Tarek Elrich. Didn't dive in. He might have overcommitted himself if he did.
Well, he's given the corner away though, Mike. I thought he had a bit of a better situation to defend than that. He made great ground and showed good composure.
Well, the word from the Newcastle bench is that it is the end of the section for Edmundo Zura, and it will be Jesper Håkansson to come on for Newcastle. Still getting used to the pace of the game here in Australia. Edmundo Zura has been playing second-level football in Ecuador. Much slower game, I would imagine. He's had a good positive contribution in this second half. He's edging closer and closer. Still not the finished product. And it's the Dane Jesper Håkansson. He has around 25 minutes or so to make an impression. Cole's corner. Kovac clears the danger.
Well, I suspect for Newcastle this will mean Håkansson goes into Joel Griffiths' position and Griffiths goes up front. We'll wait and see.
He's holding his left leg there, Jason Hoffman. He will require some treatment. I'm not sure if Kovac caught his own player. Crowd tonight, slightly disappointing. 11,535, including some rather noisy Sydney FC fans. Below average for the Jets. Here's Adam Griffiths. Back heel from Joel Griffiths. Here's Håkansson. He wins a corner with his first contribution.
Well done, Ian. 5-2. Expecting a lot from Håkansson. Comes with big raps. Half injury, some such, which has stunted his inclusion into the team and his contribution so far. But nice link play between Song and Joel Griffiths. They've got a very good understanding, those two.
Floated delivery. Håkansson. Hoffman. Håkansson, outnumbered and outmuscled. Sydney have it back. Cole. Well, what that change involving Joel Griffiths may do is give Shui Musialik more room to get his range of passing going. Possession, as we just saw, still dominated by the Newcastle Jets. That may change following that substitution.
Well, there's no doubt Musialik could prefer not to have Joel Griffiths on him. Remains to be seen now how good a job Hawkinson does on stopping Michalek play. And if it's just a one-on-one situation, you'd have to back the player who has the job of stopping, not the player who's creating. And that's where Michalek and Sydney need that extra body in midfield.
Played plenty of football in Holland, Jesper Hawkinson. He's had spells at Heerenveen and Roosendaal and Den Haag. Spell in Sweden as well with Djurgårdens. He's been around. He's had one cap for the Danish national team as well. Song Jin Hyun.
There's a change about to be made for Sydney FC as well. Mitchell Prentice has stripped off. The official piece of paper has gone to the fourth official. We think it's Steve Corica to make way.
I guess that would count as a defensive move. John Kosmina.
I'm just a quick thing to see how they can reshuffle. Go perhaps to a 4-4-2.
The closely cropped Mitchell Prentice. And a shot from Joe Wheelhouse from about 30 metres.
Had plenty on
power and movement.
Had plenty on it. And this has been a really good game for Joe Wheelhouse. He found the going tough at the Telstra Dome. He wasn't alone. He had plenty of teammates in the same boat, but he's come back as good as anyone after that disappointment. Stinging shot.
Well, it's yet another Newcastle corner. It's been a procession. And the header is flashed wide. It's Adam Griffiths. He's been the target all night. That was his best opportunity.
And that was the moment you fancy for Newcastle to capitalise on their wonderful work. Song again. Popovic beaten to the punch. Clear header. Far post was beaten. Let's see how Kosmina reshuffles the pack. There's no doubt that Newcastle tactically are dominating. And they've got plenty of bullets in the chamber, Sydney. They just can't fire them. The Apprentice goes to the centre of midfield.
Well, it looks as though maybe a straight swap. He's pushed forward and told Terry McFlynn to drop into a deeper role. So by the looks of things, the number 5 will play as a number 10. Well, there's blood here. You caught one to the mouth there, Daniel Piakowski.
Well, last time he played at this ground for Melbourne Knights, he got a massive egg on his head from a head clash. So head injuries are nothing new at the Energy Australia Stadium for Piakowski. Whack.
Well, he's going to have to take some treatment here, Daniel Piakowski. And the leading arm of John Aloisi has caught him right on the mouth. By some views, that might be a fortunate escape for John Aloisi.
Yeah.
For a yellow card.
No, it's definitely not in Aloisi's nature, but he caught him with a leading arm, and we're to believe around the world referees are clamping down on that. Indeed, Robbie Kovac for Croatia against England during the week on Joe Cole got sent off for exactly that. Perhaps a little bit more force in the Kovac challenge.
Well, that's exactly what Gary Van Egmond didn't need, and that's to lose a player who has been very composed in the crucial area of central defence, but it looks as though it might be the end of the section for him. Not a bad replacement, though, Jade North.
Yeah, but you got a feel for Daniel Piakowski. He cannot take a trick.
Middleby. Here's Prentice. So they're still down a man, Newcastle. The Jets will be livid if they concede before Jade North gets on the field. Cole works the space, wins the corner. The change will now be made.
Oh, this is a big moment for Jade North. So disappointed that his desire to move overseas finished with the closing of the transfer window. He seems to have momentarily lost his place with the Socceroos, picked up a nasty stomach bug. A huge flight back to Australia to lead his team out of the wilderness, hopefully for the Jets.
Cole's corner, missed by everyone. He was under pressure there, Adam Griffiths. It was Prentice applying the pressure on the ball. Song Jin Kyung has fallen awkwardly after that challenge from Stimu Charlotte. With the pace of this game starting to have an effect. He's still down behind play and could be cramp.
It looks to be.
Jets haven't put it out. Now Brosk has it. Some running repairs by Son Jin Hyung. He's up and about. Griffiths. Chance here for Thompson. Might fall for Joel Griffiths. Still going is Joel Griffiths. And that's going to be a free kick.
Well, no doubt heat is a factor here. Joel, not only is Song stretching out cramping muscles, Adam Griffiths is having difficulty in the centre of midfield as well. Of all players, you'd expect Joel Griffiths, the amount of work he's done, to be pulling up sore and lame, but he's still going incredibly strongly, forcing the issue. Sydney looking to scramble. Shannon Cole's down on his haunches. There are players everywhere stretching aching muscles.
Well, you made the point that it's the first time this season players have had to deal with the heat. And it's been a decent pace this game.
It has been. Newcastle have
It's going to get a lot hotter though.
Well, it is, but there's all that acclimatisation process. Let's not forget, certainly in New South Wales, it's been a very cold winter, the coldest for a long time. The first bout of heat is going to be significant. I'm more wondering how John Kosmina is looking to change the structure of his team. Alex Brosk has had such a good season, but he's been as close to anonymous tonight as you can imagine. Mark Bridge has been in fits and starts at best. Aloisi hasn't had service. Van Egmond's had the upper hand tactically, and the change of Prentice for Corica hasn't had any real material effect at this point.
Well, John Kosmina is about to use a second substitute, and it's going to be Brendan Santalab, a live wire at the best of times. Eager to play a role in the outcome of this game. Here's Holland. Thompson looking to square it up for James Holland. Interception made by Ian Fife. Sydney poised to make a double change. It may be Aloisi and Popovic, the players, to make way. That's the way John Kosmina was talking before the match. Didn't think his three older players would last the distance, but maybe there's a problem with Shannon Cole, which has upset that plan.
Well, he's still got Mitchell Prentice, who can drop out of the midfield into the back line if needs be.
It does look as though Shannon Cole is signed off for the night. He hasn't returned to the playing arena.
Big moment for Matt German.
Not his debut. He did make his debut for Sydney FC in Perth last year as a short-term injury replacement. He's an 18-year-old who's been playing with Sydney Olympic in the New South Wales Premier League, so one Sydney Olympic player replaces another. He's been at the AIS, as we mentioned, strapping young defender.
Robbie
Shake of the hand there from Tony Popovich.
Robbie Middleby's gone to right fullback. Matt German will play left. Good move. He's got Popovich, the experienced campaigner, right next to him in the formation, can nurse him through these remaining 12+ injury time minutes.
That was a good run from Hawkinson. Now Song. He fires across the face of goal. What a spark from Jesper Hawkinson. It was a wonderful run.
Now, it's a good cameo because Hawkinson did brilliantly, but Mishalik's run, a lung-bursting recovery run to force Newcastle to the right-hand side of the field. This is Hawkinson. Look where Mishalik starts, on his derriere and 15 metres behind, and it's Mishalik who makes a lung-bursting run to round him up and force him wide again. From this point, it's outstanding work from Mishalik. From that point on, Matt German beaten with his first contribution by Song. Great work, Hawkinson. Great work, Mishalik. As the game goes deep into its course, those types of physical efforts could well determine the match.
Mistake from Thompson. Concedes the corner. The 17th corner of the game.
Well, they've lost Shannon Cole. Can Mitchell Prentice deliver the same precision?
In fact, it's the 19th corner of the game. And all to no avail so far. Here's Prentice. And the shot from Stewie Mishalik. Wide of the target. Dummy from Song. Here's Elrich. Gets away from Yerman, who lunges in. So Elrich feels he was taken out. Well, this young man getting a good education here tonight. He's been involved the last few minutes since he's come off the bench to stretch his legs. John Kosmina making the point that he'd rather promote players from his youth team than to go out and look for short-term injury replacements. Well, it's not a bad attitude.
That's what football clubs are all about, I thought.
So Yerman will be given his chance, as indeed will a number of the players from the Sydney FC youth team, which is playing its first game in the National Youth League in a couple of weeks. Here's Alex Brosk, we believe, the player who's about to make way for Brendan Santalab. So both Popovich and Aloisi will have to last the distance. Here's Hawkinson. A fair way out. He's had a go. The crowd won't mind that. He's a player who likes to attack defenders. That's been obvious already.
Well, he slipped into that Joel Griffiths position nicely. Encouraging for Gary Van Egmond. Gives him that variation in personnel. And it is Alex Brosk, who was on the field. Not for any longer. Brendan Santalab, great opportunity. Scorer of a couple of spectacular goals last season. Haven't seen him this season. And put his name in headlights if he can win this for Sydney FC. Still have to favour Newcastle from here. Sydney FC haven't broken the shackles.
Well, it seems as though it's a feast or a famine in the A-League in terms of goals. We had half a dozen in round one, and then we had 2 rounds where our goals were just flowing in. Mitchell Prentice in trouble. Just a yellow card. His heart was in his mouth. His heart was in his mouth. Copped the red in the pre-season. He's only just returned from suspension. The split second there, Mitchell Prentice was a very worried man.
Yeah, very lucky.
North. Is that a jet lag pass from Jade North?
You could feel him, forgive him for feeling a bit green around the gills. Sounded like a terrible bug that went through the Socceroos camp, but got him square in the guts, if I can put it that way. Didn't miss him. And it's a big effort to get off that plane, long haul flight.
Kovic likewise involved in that squad in Uzbekistan. Interesting point made by the chief executive of the FFA, Ben Buckley, about perhaps the knock-on effect of that Socceroos World Cup performance on the A-League. We haven't seen it in the crowd tonight. It's a disappointing attendance as Tarek Ulrich earns his yellow card.
A crunching tackle from Matt Yerman on Song, completely legitimate. It's exactly what you want to see in a defender, and then he led the attack, and that's crude.
Positive play from Matt Yerman.
He knew where he was on the field, Tarek Ulrich. He backed the referee not to be too harsh on him.
Prentice. Well, we understand that Daniel Piakowski, just an update on him, he will need a trip to the dentist, which is unfortunate for him. On his debut, he's had so many problems at Melbourne Victory with injuries. This doesn't quite count as an injury, but it's going to sideline him maybe for a week or so, depending. And just as he was getting in the groove, so unlucky for Daniel Piakowski as his defensive partner Job Wheelhouse goes into the notebook. That's 2 yellow cards in the space of a minute for Newcastle Jets. Another set-piece chance for Mitchell Prentice. And Sydney FC fashion a late goal here at Energy Australia Stadium.
There's Popovic. He's been good tonight on the comeback. We don't expect him to be able to foot it with some of the younger strikers across the pitch, but the speed between the ears and the experience and the technique as well of Tony Popovic is what he brings to the team. It's been a great return. Problems for Sydney have been further up the pitch. They haven't dealt with Newcastle.
Well, we did say before the match that this is historically a low-scoring fixture, this one. It's worked out that way again tonight. The last 3 matches indeed have finished with a 1-0 scoreline to Sydney FC. Will history repeat itself? We look a little bit stronger now, having absorbed so much pressure for long periods of the second half, Sydney. Last 5 minutes or so will have given John Kosmina a bit more encouragement. Yerman diving in. Holland. Flynn was caught in 2 minds. Holland tried to pick out Joel Griffiths, cut out by Sydney. And away goes Aloisi. Well, Mitchell Prentice has already been booked.
There's nothing in that, though. And Jade wants to watch it. There's no need for that, Jade. He's reached for the pocket, O'Leary. Where's he going with this? Oh, dear, oh, dear.
Well, that's off. Mitchell Prentice, a second yellow card. Disaster for Mitchell Prentice. Absolute disaster for Mitchell Prentice.
Well, the question, I mean, he'll have to live or die on the merits of that decision. How does Jade North, as a second man in, get away with that? I didn't see it. There was no malice in this. He's pulled his leg away. It's a free kick at best. Play on. Perhaps they've got a hair trigger, the referees. It's a concern. And Jade North, much as we love him, gets away with impunity for coming into the play and pushing a player in the back. You know, it's just leaving themselves completely open, in my opinion.
Drama, late drama here at Energy Australia Stadium. Sydney FC down a man. 2 yellow cards for the substitute, Mitchell Prentice. It's a long, lonely walk for him to the dressing room. And the Jets create a late winner against undermanned opponents. They haven't got a lot of time to do it.
I think you can reasonably expect, if you're a Sydney FC coach or manager, John Cosmina, that Mitchell Prentice on a yellow card would just be a bit more cautious, even though I didn't think there was a yellow card in it. They just take the tip and take it a bit easy.
Hawkinson. Three minutes to be added on to the end of this match. Sydney FC unbeaten so far this season. Newcastle Jets have rebounded from that humiliation in Melbourne. There's been a world of difference between that performance and this one from the home team.
Yes, no doubt. They've picked themselves off the canvas well, and they've tactically had the better of the game. There's no doubt in my mind.
Leave it.
But it was a win they were after in front of their home fans. The game is petering out into a 0-0 draw.
Aloisi looks for some width, doesn't have any. Here's Charlotte. Here's Bridge. Sydney happy to keep possession. That's understandable in the circumstances. Not forcing the pass, at least not yet. Here goes McFlynn. Newcastle have backed off. McFlynn opens up the space for Mark Bridge. He stayed onside. Bridge. Here's Yerman. It's going away from goal across from Matt Yerman. Can Newcastle rouse themselves? Holland has Song to his right. Griffiths is peeled off through the middle. It's a very, very tired cross from James Holland. Song. Here's Elrich. Almost fell for Joel Griffiths. Hawkinson. It was going wide anyway. Blocked by Middleby. Santalab. He goes in. Studsworth showing. Decision for the referee. A yellow card for Brendan Santalab.
Well, the goals of round 3 have been replaced by cards in round 4. Got the ball first. I think that's what the picture showed. Adam Griffiths might disagree with the force that Brendan Sandlab used.
Can Joel Griffiths conjure some magic? Seconds remaining here at Energy Australia Stadium. It's going to be a Jets corner.
Well, even Joel Griffiths is cramping up. That shows how hard the players have found it this evening.
Song goes short. Tarek Elrich. Now Song lofts it towards the back post. Chance here for Newcastle. This wouldn't fall for Adam Griffiths, so there is the final whistle. So it ends all square here in Newcastle. The Jets have certainly redeemed themselves after the humiliation in Melbourne. Sydney FC have hung on for a gritty point at the Energy Australia Stadium. Full-time score, Newcastle Jets 0, Sydney FC 0. Well, a match without goals, but not without incident, particularly in the second half. Red card for Mitchell Prentice will be a talking point. These are the highlights from the second half of football.
James Holland with the first effort. This was the flat moment for Clint Bolton. Had 2 or 3 occasions when he looked a little bit shaky, but he recovered really well, the Sydney goalkeeper. Some very telling interceptions from him. It was James Holland again. Beautiful work from Edmundo Zura. Just a word on the Ecuadorian, his best contribution so far. Adam Griffiths with Newcastle's best chance of the game. It suggests he threatened from set pieces with that head of his, just heading wide past the far post.
So a look of disappointment on the face of Joel Griffiths. He certainly rose to the occasion tonight. He led by example, just couldn't find the goal. You can see the frustration written all over his face. Adam Griffiths also had a chance with that header from the corner. A succession of corners for Newcastle in that second half. They were certainly the better of the two teams after the break. But Sydney FC showing great character to weather that storm. They were left short-handed as well with that late dismissal of Mitchell Prentice with 2 yellow cards. So it's a disappointed, perhaps, Newcastle Jets side. Adam Griffiths is with Melanie McLaughlin.
Adam, it certainly was fiery to the end, this clash.
Yeah, it was. It was a tough match. We had 2 weeks off and we had a terrible defeat last week. So it wasn't a bad point.
Well, that's the thing. You didn't get the 3 points, but you kept a clean sheet, and that's pretty promising.
Yeah, that was promising, and we had a new centre-half pairing, so it seemed to work, and they were very solid. And then Jay came on to make it a little bit better at the back as well.
What was the mood like in these 2 weeks?
It was surprisingly upbeat. So we did all right, and we kept our shape, and I suppose we just. I'm stuffed.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, thanks a lot, Adam. I'll let you have a breather.
No problems.
All right, Stuart Michalek joins me now, former Jet. Stu, the crowd liked you a lot more than Mark Bridge.
Yeah, I think maybe because I was a local boy, you know. I mean, they were a little bit nicer to me or something. They were fairly hostile towards him, but I didn't hear too much towards me, you know what I mean? So I was happy with it.
Now you had, it seems like all your attacking weapons on, but they seem to get smothered.
Yeah, you know, we didn't. I don't think we really kept possession that well in their front third. You know what I mean? We did a lot of defending and then gave it away fairly cheaply when we won it ourselves. So we're going to have to work on that.
In your experience from both sides, why is it that these games are always notoriously low scoring?
I think it's just because there's that bigger rivalry. You know what I mean? The teams work on keeping the defence tight on that during the weekend. And not giving anything away. It's almost like semi-finals football, and that's always the case in semi-finals football. So I think it's got a lot to do with that.
Do you think maybe you guys might have relaxed a little bit the last couple of weeks? Obviously, Newcastle really worked on their back line, but you guys were scoring so many goals.
No, I don't think it was a case of us relaxing. I think it was more of a case of them raising their game. You know, I mean, they were really poor against Melbourne, and we knew that they weren't going to have another performance like that this season, you know what I mean? And they had 2 weeks to sort themselves out, and they came at us with everything, and happy to get away with the draw in the end.
All right, thanks a lot, Stuart.
No worries, thank you.
philosophical Stewie Musharlock. I'm sure those Newcastle Jets fans are reasonably satisfied with this performance. Not necessarily the result, but certainly a very strong showing from the Jets in that second half. And these other stats overall, they ended up shading possession, the home team. They also had more time in the opposition half, more corners as well, just the one offside in the match. There were 17 fouls in the game, 7 yellow cards in the end. They came with a rush, and sadly for Mitchell Prentice, a second yellow card saw him sent from the field with around 6 minutes left in the game. So Sydney FC hanging on for a point here against the Newcastle Jets. These are the attack stats again. They show a strong second half from the home team. 12 shots to 8, 4 shots on target, just the one from Sydney FC. 33 balls into the box, 13 from the right from Newcastle, 14 from Sydney's right. Again, a good performance from Shannon Cole before he went off with an injury. 14 balls from the left for the Newcastle Jets. That was a strong area of the game for them. And 4 saves had to be made in the end by Clint Bolton in that Sydney FC goal. Well, of course, 2 more games remaining in round 4 of the Hyundai A-League. And our coverage here on Fox Sports continues tomorrow from the Westpac Stadium in Wellington. It's the Wellington Phoenix against the Central Coast Mariners. The coverage from 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 2. And then we switch to the other side of the country. Perth Glory hosts Queensland Roar from the Members Equity Stadium in Perth. Our coverage from 5 p.m. Eastern, again on Fox Sports 2. Don't forget, of course, our coverage of the EPL will begin straight after this. The big game from Anfield, Liverpool against Man United. Dimitar Berbatov making his debut for the Reds. So at Energy Australia Stadium, it's been a competitive match between the champions Newcastle Jets and Sydney FC. Maybe a game of 2 halves, but in the end, the points had to be shared. From me, Mike Cockerell, Andy Harper and the team, it's goodbye for now.
This program brought to you by Hyundai Santa Fe, built family tough. Carlsberg, probably the best beer in the world. Hungry Jack's, the burgers are better at Hungry Jack's. Pepsi Max, maximum taste, no sugar. Mighty Helpful Mitre 10, finally someone's fixing hardware. And Ballantine's Finest Scotch Whisky, official spirit of the Hyundai A-League.